Well, we'll get started. Sorry, everyone. Thanks for your patience. For those of you who may not know me, hello, everyone. My name is Priya Bhutani. Thank you again for joining us today. We have all been wondering how Brexit will impact the regulatory framework in the UK. And I'm so excited because we finally are able to discuss and bring this topic to you because of the recent guidelines released by the MHRA. For those of you who may not be familiar with Reg Desk, Reg Desk is a regulatory software platform that uses machine learning and artificial intelligence to make global compliance easier and faster. Our platform provides RA teams with comprehensive and updated regulatory intelligence, tools to collaborate with local distributors, comprehensive tracking and reporting capability, and actually an application builder, which is pretty cool because it enables teams to prepare technical files for international market within hours. Our approach to regulatory is quite unique and one that gives clients a competitive advantage. If you'd like to learn more or try out the system, we'd be happy to schedule a call to discuss further. With us today, we have a leading expert from Europe, Caroline Rosette. Caroline is an RA executive with over 10 years of regulatory experience in the medical device industry. She has served as a key regulatory specialist and as a manager for many leading medical device companies. In her current management role at a premier Medtech company, Ms. Rosette is responsible for both the EMEA region and international markets. She has extensive experience developing and implementing regulatory strategies, product registrations, managing compliance systems, and ensuring goals and objectives of the division are met. Ms. Rosette holds a master's degree in medicines and health products with specialization in biotechnology and innovative treatments from University of Paris. Well, before we begin our discussion this morning, I'd like to turn our attention to our attendees. Thank you so much for joining us. At the end of this meeting, we'll hold a brief Q&A. We encourage your participation. Please refer to the chat button on your screen. In the interest of time, please submit your questions throughout the course of our talk, and we will try to address as many of your questions as we can. In case we run out of time, please email us your questions and we'll try to address them via email. Also, we would love to get your feedback on today's webinar and ideas you may have for future webinar topics. Well, let's begin. Caroline, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Hello, Priya. Thank you for inviting me to the webinar.
Well, so let's start off. Can you just tell us about what these new guidelines are that the MHRA released recently?
So if we start from the beginning, so the UK left European Union and is right now in the transition period. So this transition period has started in February 1st of 2020 as it is ending on December 31st of 2020. So the new MHRA guidance that have been issued on January 31st really confirm that during this transition period, the market access will not change. So that means that the CE mark will remain valid. The firms or manufacturer can continue to submit all the informations to the MHRA using all the existing routes, like, for example, vigilance or clinical investigations. And the UK also can continue to report to European data system as usual. So the new guidance that have been published is really looking for post-Brexit, and it has been issued in September 2020, but is still today in draft. So the change applies to England, Scotland, and Wales, and Northern Ireland is a little bit more complicated. And also we know that the MHRA will remain the competent authority for the UK.
And before we the details, can you provide just a high-level overview of these guidelines?
So for these guidelines, we have several requirements, but first of all, the CE marking will continue to be used and recognized through June 30 of 2023. all the certificates that have been issued by European Union-based notified bodies will continue to remain valid until June 30 of 2023. So that means that we have today an 18-month transition period. A new route to market in product marking will be available for manufacturers wishing to place a device on the Great Britain market from January 1st of 2020, which is the UK CE mark. So from January 1st of 2021, all medical devices and IVDs placed on the UK market will need to be registered with the MHRA, but there will be a grace period for registering those devices depending on the risk category of those devices. So for the grace period, we have 4 months for class 3s and class 2B implantables, all active implantables medical devices, and Annex 2 List A IVDs. We have 8 months for all other class Bs and all other class A devices, as well as Annex 2 List B IVDs and self-test IVDs. And we have a 12 month for class 1 devices and all general IVDs. So the manufacturer based outside the UK who wish to place a device on the UK market, you will need to designate a UK responsible person who will take care of the responsibility for the product in the UK.
Okay, well, thank you. That's helpful. Let's dive deeper into these guidelines. So what are these guidelines stating regarding registration requirements? And then also just wanted to know whether these requirements that have been proposed, are they more similar to MDR, MDD? It sounds like it's more essentially similar to directives, but yeah, and in our conversation later on, we can talk about sort of the future of where we will go beyond the guidelines. But yeah, so if you could tell us a little bit about the registration requirements per these guidelines.
So the registration requirements apply from January 1st of 2021. So first, the manufacturer based in the UK must register with the MHRA. All manufacturers outside of the UK must designate a UK responsible person. This UK responsible person will then assume the responsibility of the manufacturers in terms of registering the device with the MHRA. Manufacturer based outside the European Union who have an authorized rep that is established in Northern Ireland will not need to designate a UK responsible person when placing a device on the Northern Ireland market. So that is why we say it's like more complicated for the Northern Ireland market. We have like a duality for this specific market. So the Northern Ireland based authorized representative will be able to register those devices with the MHRA on the manufacturer we have. And also registration fees will apply to this registration. So regarding this new person, so this new UK responsible person, they have some responsibilities, which also align with the PRC of the new MDR. So it must, first of all, ensure conformity of the assessment procedure and keep available a copy of all technical file of all technical documentation, declaration of conformity, and all associated certificates. He must provide the MHRA all the information and documentation necessary to demonstrate any conformity of the device. And he must be like the link between the MHRA and the manufacturer, and then forward to the manufacturer all the requests by the MHRA for any sample or if he need access to a device on the market. There is really a cooperation with the MHRA on any preventive or corrective actions taken to be eliminated. And the UK responsible person also inform the manufacturers about complaints and reports from healthcare professionals, patients or users about any incidents related to a device. So the MHRA said there will be further guidance for this responsibility, but here are the main responsibility today for their UK responsible person. So you were asking if the requirements were similar to MDR or to MDO or MDD. So MDR and IVDR will not be actually on the statute book on December 2020. So they won't be automatically be retained because they haven't reached the date of application. So the effect of these legislations moving forward from January 1st will be the MDD and IVD directive.
So can foreign manufacturers, do they have to wait till January to start submitting the applications for their products? Or is MHRA accepting the applications now? I know it's just a proposed rule, but do you have to wait till this law goes into effect?
Yes, we need to wait. All the devices placed in the UK market before that date will remain valid with only the CE mark. So this guidance is really entering in force on January 1st of 2021. So we need to wait until that date because before the CE mark only applies.
And so if I have a product as a foreign manufacturer that's already approved and I'm already distributing this product on the market in the UK, I don't have to do anything unless my license is about to expire. But if I have a new product that I want to introduce into the UK and the associated countries, I have to wait till January to start the process.
Yes, exactly. All the products already on the market don't need any registrations, so the CE mark remains valid. And as soon as you place a new device on the market, then you will need to register with the MHRA.
And then what happens? So once MDR goes into effect, then what happens to this proposal, these guidelines? Then is MHRA essentially saying that once MDR goes into effect, then they will basically follow MDR rules, right? Then they will, this is just an interim solution till MDR goes into effect.
Yes, exactly. So the MDR is going to come into effect and they will, recognize the CE mark. However, the guidance is precise. We've seen the guidance a new route, so UK CE mark, which will be mandatory in 2023, and for every product to be placed on the UK market, then you will need the UK CE mark. So it will come in force before the MDR.
Got it. And then what about these technical dossiers? How are they submitted now to the MHRA? Is there an online portal? Is it to your notified body? How does one submit their application?
So as today, there is an online system and there will still be an online system to register for the devices that we want to place on the market. So we will need to register with the device online registration system, the DOORS system. So it will require like the address, the registered address, the company name, any devices that you want to add to the registration record, the status of the device, and the authorized representative of the company.
So now clients will need, UK, obviously you're going to have a separate AR, but what about the notified bodies? But do you submit your application to the notified bodies, or as a foreign manufacturer, does your AR submit it through doors, and then in that door system you designate who your notified body is, and then the application automatically goes to them? Is that how it happens?
So in the past, we had a notified body, but the new UK scheme has this conformity assessment body, which will be called approved bodies. So from January 21st, MHRA will able to designate UK conformity assessment body to conduct assessments against the UK requirements. So all existing UK notified body with designation under the MDD, IVD, or MDD will have their designation roll over automatically without any new designation process. But it's like in other countries, so you have the registration to the MHRA, which will need to be done online. So we have the same system like in France. We do register all the devices directly to the competent authority of France. But we also have the notified body who will assess and your conformity assessment of your products. So in other countries, you have such notifications which need to be done to the competent authority directly, but you still have your notified body for which you need to comply to every requirements regarding the regulation.
And what will happen to the notified bodies? Is UK also asking them to be redesignated, or how's UK handling notified bodies?
So yes, so as I was saying, so all the existing UK notified body with the designation but under MGD, IVD, or MDD will have their designation really to automatically rolled over without any designation process. So all those approved bodies will be designated for future products for the UK CE mark.
What will happen once, again, this is an interim proposal till MDR goes into effect. Once MDR goes into effect, then is UK planning on, I guess, designating the notified bodies for MDR, or are they going to just accept this rollover of designation? Will it just basically roll over again when MDR goes into effect? Is that their plan?
So I think the plan, but there is no detail about that. So it will depend if the UK notified body that has been designated will get also maybe their designation under MDR. But there is what is sure that all those who have already their designation of the MDD will roll over automatically to the MDD under the UK competent authority, but there is no detail about the MDR.
Okay, thanks. And so moving on to, I had a few more questions. Would there be, so I know you already brought this up, but I thought maybe you can explain it better. So we are now moving away from, in the UK, from CE mark. They're accepting CE mark for existing products, but then moving away from that to what? What symbol will UK have?
So there will be, today we have the CE mark until, is remaining valid from January 1st of 2020, but there will be a new route, which is the UK CE mark conformity assessed. So it's a new UK product marking. So it won't be restricted to just medical device and IVDs. It won't be recognized in the Europe or Northern Ireland market, and products currently requiring a CE mark will still need a CE mark for those markets. So manufacturer will be able to require or to use the UK CE mark from January 1st of 2021. and we can use the CE mark until June 30 of 23. So from July 1st of 2023, to place a device on the Great Britain market, you will need to meet the requirement for placing a UK CE mark on your device.
Can we touch a little bit on clinical data for class 3 devices? Is UK going to just accept clinical data that's essentially acceptable for the EU, or are they proposing? Have they mentioned anything about that? Are they going to propose clinical tests and studies be done in the UK?
So we don't have such detail in the guidance today, so we'll need to wait and see what's going to happen. But what we can think, and we must, I assume that what MHRA will ask is really to be aligned with the MDD and then with the MDR. UK is really a big country, and I mean the compliance will be really, the requirements will be really aligned with the MDR and the MDD as well. So what we know is that the UK responsible person will need to keep all the documentation available for 10 years after placing the product on the market. And for sure, all the requirements for the technical file will be aligned with the MDD or MDR.
What actions should foreign manufacturers take? What can they start to do now to prepare for this? And two, do you have any idea, has MHRA provided clarity on when they will release these guidances and make them into this is a proposal right now, so right, it still needs to go through some modifications maybe, or when will they release it as its a final rule?
So today this guidance is still on draft. It needs to go through Parliament's approval. It says in the guidance on the MHRA website that we will need to wait for further detail later in 2020. We can assume that the guidance entering in force on January 1st of 2021, that will come a little bit earlier than this date. But for all the manufacturers that don't have any location in the UK, because I think it's the biggest actions for those, they will need to start maybe thinking about a place in the UK where to locate and designate their UK responsible person if they don't have any place yet. But for sure, we'll need to wait and see. All further detail will be published on the MHRA website before the end of the year. So we need to wait if how hard Brexit will deal within the UK.
Okay, so we have a bunch of questions. So thank you, Caroline. Let's see if we can address some of these questions. Can a third person register a device on behalf of the UK responsible person?
So for the UK responsible person, there is no detail if she needs to be within the company or not. We assume that it can be a third person, but it will be I think it will be like the PRC. It will need like a contract, an authorized letter, delegation letter for this person to do the registration and to be this UK responsible person.
And can a UK responsible person be appointed and register with MHRA before January 2021?
So before January 2021, there will be no need to register with MHRA. I think the best way to think and to act is just to wait for further detail, just to be sure that the guidance won't be changed for any reason. But before that date, I mean, all the certificates, all the C certificates in the CE mark remain really valid for this country. And we have this grace period to take in account also. So there is no hurry to do the registration.
Another question is, if we have many distributors in the UK, do they all become our RP, or does a non-EU manufacturer only designate one UK responsible person?
So for the UK responsible person, I think they should really, because if you have many distributors, they will put their own product on the market several times. The purpose to have this is just to have the declaration made once. So this will need to be done by only one person in order to not have like every distributor having their own declaration.
We have quite a few, so we may not be able to get through all of them. What actions must a foreign manufacturer take to continue distribution or offer new products to Northern Ireland, UKCA or CE mark? Yeah.
So for Northern Ireland, the UK CE mark won't be recognized. For Northern Ireland, it will be the CE mark under MDD and then MDR. So in the guidance, they really says that we will need further details for the Northern Ireland because it's like a really specific country, as well as the authorized rep. So they will issue further detail for that. But what is sure is that the CE mark will be recognized, but not the UK CE mark.
Okay, so another question is, my company manufactures goods outside of EU and the UK. We have an importer in the EU. We also have a commercial office in the UK, which will import the products from EU into UK. The question is that, can this office act as the responsible person? And if yes, what do we have to do with MHRA so they recognize it as our designated responsible person?
So to designate the UK responsible person, there is no details about what is the specific requirements. However, in the previous guidance, they were talking, yes, as I said just before, like a legalized contract, a delegation letter for this person to ensure and to take the responsibility of the products that have been placed on the UK market, but for the responsibilities and for the way to register this UK responsible person, there will need, more details that MHRA will issue.
And what about the UK notified bodies who withdrew due to not wanting to transfer to MDR? Will they be resurrected as a UK notified body? Have you heard anything about this at all?
So you mean that all the UK notified body that won't be designated under MDR?
Right, and ones who withdrew because of MDR. So will they just, I guess it'll depend on the notified body, right? They may opt to maybe come back to the UK.
So I think that's just different things. It's just that, yes, all the UK notified bodies that are still in the UK, so we'll see their designation roll over for the UK CE mark. However, the UK CE mark is really relying on MDD and MDR. So that means that we assume that they will need to be designated under MDR as well. For sure under MDD, regarding the entering in force of MDR in 2024, we don't have any details about that, but there will be a line for sure. So I think that they will really need to be designated as well under MDR.
And will MHRA recognize Utamed as per the MDR requirements? Is there any mention of that?
So there's the mention that until during the transition period, if Udemy was like available, they would still be using as usual. So this was detailed in the guidance in January 31st of 2020. It is not today. We don't know if there will be using the same European data system. It's not really sure, or they won't be managed, if we can say, by the European market access. But there is no detail about that. So we assume that there will be a different database. It was just stating that during the transition period, all the European database will remain the same as usual. But after, we don't know.
Well, we have a few more questions left, but please feel free to email either me, Priya at regdesk.co, or desk@regdesk.co, and I'll forward those on to Caroline, and we'll try to get those answered for you. But Caroline, thank you so much for being here today and sharing this insightful information. I know you and I discussed some additional topics, and maybe we can present on another. There's so much going on in the UK, so this is just one major aspect, and then there are other things as well that we can discuss maybe for another series of discussions. But once again, thank you again, and thank you to all our participants for joining us. Please feel free to email your questions, and thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Priya.